You are Locked On Rockets Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Houston on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
And just like that, they are back. Sure, it's a game that does not count. Sure, the second half wasn't all that great, but it does not matter tonight because the simple feeling of having basketball back in our lives is an exciting thing in the city of Houston as the Rockets kick off their 2024-2025 campaign with game 1 of 4 in the preseason tonight up in Utah in Salt Lake City against the Jazz. The end result, not what Ime Udoka is going to want, even if it is just a preseason game that you don't need to overreact to, but we will overreact to here in just a bit, because why wouldn't you have some overreactions to a preseason game? We'll do all of that throughout this show tonight. Tonight's episode of the Locked On Rockets Postcast is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet, and you'll get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Well, hello and welcome. I'm your host, of course, Michael Connor, here on this channel. If you've been around on this channel, you know that we do postcasts for Astros games, Texans games. We've been doing Cougars games. We had done one Rockets game on this channel. The last regular, I think it was the last regular season, or not the last one. One of the last regular season games at the end of last year when we started this channel. They lost to the Mavericks, who eventually went on to lose in the NBA Finals. We did a show for that game. And then baseball season started, and the Rockets were not going to make the playoffs, so we did nothing but Astros after that. Well, here we are. A Rockets season is ahead of us, and I appreciate you guys that are going to be here live afterwards, sharing it with your friends, doing whatever. We, of course, hope that you are that this is the spot that you come to after the game ends. As soon as it ends, we'll break it down. We'll take a look at what we saw tonight and react like fans, because that's what we are, right? We're all fans of the Rockets, and I'm excited that basketball's back. I'm excited to see what this team is made of this season, even if I do have some question marks for this team this season. A lot to look forward to, I think, overall. Of course, this show, when it comes to the podcast version of it, all you have to do is go search Locked On Rockets anywhere that you get your podcast. You'll get this show for free and the Locked On Rockets show, which is the daily show hosted by my buddy Jackson Gatlin. If you want to check that out, go check him out. He is covering your Rockets better than anybody else out there. I'm just going to say it. I'm not going to toot his horn too much. If you do see this, Jackson, we used to work together in radio. He knows what he's doing, and he's on it when it comes to Rockets coverage. So, excuse me, go give him a follow. Go subscribe to his channel as well, and eat up all the Rockets content that we have to give to you this season. 122-113, the final tonight. Now, look, if I want to come out and take an actual evaluation of a preseason game tonight, and I'm sure this is exactly what Ime Udoka is going to do when they go and he and his staff sit down and talk to the players about this, and of course, go through film and everything. Look, they came out in the third quarter and they just no defense. The offense was. You can't call it completely optional because they scored the same amount of points they scored in the third as they did in the first quarter. But more than anything else, they gave up 39 points in that third quarter. Fourth quarter, not worried about it. That was basically your summer league squad that was out there in the fourth quarter. So that does not matter. You just, you don't necessarily like coughing up something out of half. If that's going to be a trend of the season, you hope not. You don't want to see anything like that. So I guess if I'm taking one real takeaway from this basketball game tonight, it's probably that. I will say I did like a lot of what I saw early in terms of pace. I think that last season when you watch this Rockets team, now look, this is a preseason game where when the starters are the guys that are entrenched and know their role, they're not worried about having to make a roster or whatever. Defense is going to be optional in these games, right? Yeah, of course. It's not going to be completely optional, but they're not going to do there's not regular season effort in a lot of areas, which is fine. Look, the number one goal for these games always is to walk out of them healthy. Rockets, knock on wood, they walked out of it healthy tonight. You hope that they walk out of it healthy the rest of this preseason. But that's the number one thing. I did, though, overall like that I felt like they played with quite a lot of pace in that first half. And I think that last season's team, again, like I mentioned, was a team that played slow at times. And I know that I could find that number out there somewhere. I think that they were one of the slowest teams in the league at times last year. They played a lot of half court. Now, a lot of that gets bogged down when you have Fred VanVleet and Dylan Brooks out there. By the way, okay, so tonight, fast break points, Rockets, 26 of them to just 6 for the Jazz. You like that. The one thing you don't love, now look, again, I'm not going to overreact to it. We will overreact in just a minute if you want. Are they going to get enough shooting at times? That's a real question mark. Good game for Jalen Green tonight. Shot the ball well, hit 4 consecutive threes at one point. Was offers and all the other ones, but hit 4 consecutive threes. Alpe looked like Alpe. Jabari had some moments. I want to talk about him. I really want to talk about the whole starting unit and kind of the expectations that I think I have for them this season, what you have for them this season, because, we'll see exactly what they can get out of this team this season. There's a team that went 41-41 last year. It wasn't an offseason that screamed, oh, they went out and upgraded massively. I mean, look, we all know what they did in the offseason. Their preference was to go out and star chase and get a established star veteran on this squad in some way or, some form or fashion. Didn't get it. Still growing, still a lot of pieces. I'm still excited about this season. We'll talk about all of it ahead. I want to kind of go through these guys on the roster, what's ahead for them, overreact a little bit to this preseason game as well, because it wouldn't be the preseason without a little bit of overreaction. We'll continue to do all that here in just a quick second on the Locked On Rockets Postcast. BetterHelp. This episode tonight is sponsored by BetterHelp. It is a website that can get you the help that you need. Something big or small or whatever it might be in your life that, look, we all have fears in life, right? Yeah, I've got fears. Who doesn't have fears? Maybe you need to get some help to face those fears. It's okay to admit that. It's all right to do that. And you can do that by, going ahead and getting there with what you need from BetterHelp. If you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire, get matched to a licensed therapist, and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Overcome your fears with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA today and get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA. Locked On Rockets Postcast, our first of the season. Thank you to those of you that are joining us here on this great channel. The Rocket, I say it's great. You guys make it great because you guys subscribe to it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Appreciate you. Do that. Keep this channel growing. Of course, we do Rockets like we're doing here tonight. If you missed any of Astros season, there's 100 some odd videos available to you if you want to go back and relive postcasts from the regular season. You could do that. We have Texans. We had one this past weekend. Texans 4-1. We'll have another one this weekend after they take on the New England Patriots in what should hopefully be a nice little win for the Texans this weekend. So we'll get through all of that here on this channel. And, of course, all season long with the Rockets. We'll be here with that. The Cougs as well. We've done some Cougs football. Going to mix some Cougs basketball into the mix as well this season because the expectation level is insanely high for them. Going to be a fun schedule. I've kind of pinpointed some games that I think I want to absolutely do shows for those. So if you like basketball, it's that time of the year We're going to have you covered with all the basketball angles right here on this channel. And then don't forget, if you're looking for the podcast version of this show, go and search Locked On Rockets. You will get this show and the Locked On Rockets show, which is Jackson Gatlin hosting you 5 days a week, doing his thing, covering your Rockets, like I mentioned earlier. Subscribe to his channel as well. And hopefully we'll get him on for one of these shows, at least one of these shows. I'd like to do it in the preseason, just kind of go over some things together. Some thoughts on what's ahead for the Rockets this season. Unfortunately, they dropped their first preseason game tonight, 122-113. I think if you're looking for a star of the night overall, well, Jalen Green probably qualifies as that. I think across the entire starting lineup tonight, okay, we'll just start at the top here as I've got my box score up. Jabari Smith is listed first. I don't think that Jabari Smith is ever going to evolve into the scorer that maybe I hoped he would be coming out of Auburn. I don't know if he's ever going to develop into the consistent shooter from the outside that I had hoped for as well. I think that Jabari Smith on a good team is like what he did last season. He averaged 13-8, basically 14-8. I think if you got 15-9 out of him every season in his NBA career, and look, I might be selling him short still. He's only 21 years old, which is crazy. And he did take a step forward last year shooting, 45% from the field, 36 from three. And I mentioned the points, when he went up about a point a game, he went up about a rebound a game. I think that Jabari Smith's calling card is always going to be being a defensive kind of anchor in his level of effort on defense. And if you get consistent scoring out of him, I think that's gravy. I am insanely intrigued by Amen Thompson still. Now, look, is Amen Thompson, and this is kind of the theme here when we talk about this Rockets team, and it has been, is Amen Thompson ever going to develop a shot that's consistent? He didn't get to the rim with anybody's bit. I mean, that guy's got bounce. He did blow a spare tire on one of them tonight, which I don't know if he blew the spare tire or the floor was slick and he just had bad footing and just gave up on it. But look, the guy's got court vision. You can see it. He's got some tenacity when it comes to getting rebounds. He's got the ability to kind of run it. He's got the ability to kind of play on the outside as a guy that's going to slash. I am a big fan of the intrigue of what he can bring. Of course, there's Alpi, who had a breakout type of season last year. I mean, look like Alpi tonight, 17 points, 4 assists, only 4 boards, but 22 minutes played. Had a block as well. I think you can kind of pencil him in for a minimum of 18-10 this season, and you're probably feeling pretty good about that. And if it's back to, 21 and – what was he last year? 21-9. Okay. Fine with that too. Fred VanVleet, we know who Fred is at this point of his NBA career. He has always been a streaky shooter who's actually put up pretty consistent numbers from the three-point line and throughout his career. If he gives you 15 to 17 a night and he shoots close to 40% from three like he did last year, I think you're going to be pleased no matter what goes on with Fred. Out there. And then Jalen Green, it's the same story with Jalen Green. He's not a great shooter. He's always been a high volume type of shooter. And this is kind of the make or break year for Jalen Green when it comes to where his career is going with the Houston Rockets. I mean, extensions coming up. Do you want to pour a ton of money into this player at max level rookie extension when I think there's still question marks? He can change those. He can still change those. He is still only, again, this is wild. He's only 22. He'll be 23 in February, but still, these guys are they're babies. They are still such babies in the NBA. And I try to remind myself when I'm evaluating or when I'm, thinking about expectation level for this team as they move forward. Other guys, of course, man, you know what? If there's one guarantee in life, it is that Cam Whitmore, no matter how many minutes that man is going to get. I don't know if you guys saw the video that the Rockets social media put out the other day where they were like, pass the phone, pass the phone, pass the phone. And I can't remember who handed. I'm going to pass the phone to the guy who never passes up taking a shot. That's Cam Whitmore. That guy is – it's a disrespectful term because usually when you're that guy, you miss a lot and you're bad. But he plays kind of like a chucker because he just goes out there and gets shot up after shot up after. I mean, he put in 17 points in 19 minutes tonight. I mean, just awesome. And I do think of all the guys that you're looking for a leap forward this season in terms of scoring even more. And how does he fit himself into this equation? I mean, look, the Rockets, that starting group that we just mentioned there, and that doesn't have Dylan Brooks in it. I think Dylan's probably still going to end up starting, and Amin Thompson comes off the bench, but Amin Thompson should get a lot of minutes no matter what. But it's a packed group. There's only so many minutes that you have to give away to certain players based off of that group that we've said there. Then you also have Cam Whitmore off the bench. If Cam can make leaps forward in terms of defense and smart decision making at times, and not shooting every time that he gets then those things will help him grow this. I mean, he's only 20. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. And this guy could fill it up last year as a rookie. Of course, Reed Sheppard, draft pick from this season, didn't do a lot tonight. Just 2 of 7 shooting, 0 of 4 from 3. But I think for me, like everybody else, very optimistic about that pick. I think he's going to be able to shoot in the NBA, shoot at a high clip. And really, that's kind of one of the things that, that's kind of one of the things that is needed on this basketball team, because that's still the question that I'm going to keep coming back to is, where are they going to get the shooting from consistently? Because that has absolutely been a problem, in this entire era since the James. I mean, really, it's not even just the James. Even in the James Harden era, they were never a great shooting team. They never had a bunch of sharpshooters. They were good, but they were never great. So where are they going to get the consistent shooting from? Hopefully Reed Sheppard comes in as a rookie and can handle a bit of that load. We shall see. Take a look at what's ahead for the Rockets. I do want to take a first early glance and thought because, again, the preseason, we're going to do a little bit of predictions here and there. Just wanted to get some overall thoughts on the West moving in. We're going to have, of course, 3 more opportunities to do this. I will save season predictions and stuff for the final postcast of the preseason coming up. But we'll get into all that here in just a brief second on the Locked On Rockets Postcast. If you love to get some action on the games, FanDuel.com is the place to do it. And hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. When you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Just head over to FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com. Locked On Rockets Postcast, our first of the 2024-2025 season. And it's nice to be able to do these. Look, again, this channel, Rockets, Texans, Astros, Cougs. This channel has basically been nothing but Astros so far because we just went through an entire Astros season when this channel started. And we haven't had an opportunity to do a lot of other things. We've done Texans preseason and regular season now. We've done a few of the Cougs football games where my schedule hasn't had the conflict. The good news is schedule conflict should not happen for Rockets games other than maybe when they play a random day game. Who knows? For the most part, we're going to be here. for every single game this season. And hopefully it's a season where the Rockets take a step forward. Now, again, last season, 41-41. If you're looking for things tonight that make you think they're going to come off of that, I don't know that there's necessarily anything from this game that you'd look at and go, yeah, I mean, like they definitely showed me something that I thought was missing last year. I think that we all know that with Ime Udoka that defense is going to be preached and the defensive effort is probably going to be really stellar. And they're going to have a lot of nights that they do a really good job of keeping the opponent from doing what they like to do offensively. I feel pretty confident in saying that's the consistent that I know is going to be there. Again, when it comes to scoring and whatnot, we shall see. Where are they going to get that? Who's going to be the guy that takes the step up and leads this team offensively? Is it going to be Alpi again? Is Jalen Green finally going to turn himself into a superstar guard? Is it going to be Reed Shepherd as a rookie surprise in the world? Is it going to be Cam Whitmore maybe taking that elite step when it comes to being a scorer in this league? Those are the things that we have to see play out. And like I mentioned earlier, they didn't have an offseason where they went out and they added a ton. They did add Steven Adams last year. Good to see him get some minutes tonight. Didn't score or anything, but had 4 rebounds and an assist in 14 minutes. So good to see him out there. I think he's going to be a really, really great addition to this team because one thing that they lacked and one thing that they still do lack is rim protection. They might have a coach that's going to really push the defensive side of the ball, and we all know that that's going to happen, and the defensive effort's probably going to be good a lot of nights. But there was still something missing last year, and it just having Steven Adams doesn't fix everything by any means. But look, Alpi's still Alpi. I think you can be incredibly intrigued by him, but he's still going to have his difficulties on defense at times. And look, when you need somebody to come in and be a true rim protector, that's what Steven Adams is at this point in his career. And he also happens to be funny if you ever listen to his interviews. So I think he's going to be a very popular Houston Rocket. We'll see how much he plays, how much of an impact he can provide. And coming off of some pretty significant injury to get back here to this point. But again, I mentioned him because I mentioned that, it wasn't the most crazy offseason for this team. They didn't do as much as I think a lot of people expected them to. Whether that might be, free agent-wise that was out there, they didn't like. They weren't willing to go to certain areas. The players just weren't looking to get to them, which is okay. Trade-wise, we heard all the rumors about them in Phoenix. I, for one, never believed the Kevin Durant thing just because Kevin Durant, he's 36 years old. To me, it always screamed if they're going to make a trade with Phoenix, they want Devin Booker probably, which sign me up for. He's still young enough. Those are the things we'll worry about in the regular season. For what I know now is that I just expect growth from the standpoint of taking a leap forward. But the question is how far can the growth go? I mean, look, they still play in the loaded Western Conference. Oklahoma City's going to be really good again. I don't know. I mean, Denver's still going to be good. That Denver's going to default into 50 wins, but something just feels like it's not going to be as great there. I don't know. Minnesota, I think they might be better trading away Karl Anthony Towns, but I don't know yet until I see it. The fit's still a little bit weird with Julius Randle. DiVincenzo was a really good pickup. The Clippers, they're going to be a Western Conference playoff team, but where do they land? Harden's old. Kawhi Leonard's coming off another injury. He's always hurt. But they always seem to find a way to win. Mavs coming off the finals last year. I think they'll probably take a step forward. I think they're one of those teams that is prime for, losing the finals and coming back and just going gangbusters in the conference. The Phoenix experiment, how much longer does that last? Like I mentioned, Durant's old. Booker's great. Beal's been a disaster there. Everybody and their mom is going to pick the Lakers to do something. I'll never buy the hype there. New Orleans is primed to blow some things up because I think that there's dysfunction there after they didn't trade Brandon Ingram this offseason. Sacramento's always intriguing, of course. Golden State still got Steph Curry. I don't know what else they're going to do. This Utah team might be a team that they played tonight that could hang around a little bit. And does Memphis turn it around at all? It's a loaded conference. It's a really loaded conference. And I didn't even mention San Antonio taking a step forward. How big of a step forward do they take? Probably not to the level where they're contending with the Rockets just yet, but I think it could be around a 500 team. I think, maybe. We'll see. So where does that growth come from for this team? It's going to be interesting to see. I don't necessarily know where it happens in this conference. It's a very, very hard conference. But we all know the expectation level is to be a playoff basketball team this year. And I think that is a realistic expectation to have for this season. And you're probably playing in the play-in tournament. It's going to be a lot of fun. We've got 3 more of these games to do in the preseason before we get into regular season mode. Another one coming up later this week on Thursday, as I'm pulling my schedule back up because I accidentally closed it. They will play Wednesday night, not Thursday night. Wednesday night in Oklahoma City against those Thunder. This preseason will then play 2 more games next week, Tuesday, Thursday next week at home, New Orleans and San Antonio. So getting to see nothing but Western Conference opponents here in this preseason, which don't have a problem with it at all. Thanks for stopping by tonight. If you watch live, also thank you if you are watching this later on. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. We will be back with you after every Rockets game this season doing these Locked On Rockets postcasts. Enjoy the rest of your Monday night. We'll talk again Wednesday night right here, the Locked On Rockets postcast.